all of our colleagues from around the state. It's awesome. I just want to tell you a little something. I'm feeling my coffee. You might be feeling yours too. There's a bathroom out there and bathrooms out there. So feel free to use the facilities as you need them. We have an interesting kind of role with things going to give you information today. But we also want you to be interactive because, as Sonia said, the doggone devil is in the details. And Bakersfield College, even before MAP got started, we called Ken Sorey and said, well, you're not starting till next year, we're gonna start ahead of time. And we met with our English and math faculty and figured out our first multiple measures implementation in 2014. So we've been doing this since 2014, and we've just tweaked it and done a lot of little things. But as part of that, I spoke at Student Success Conference 2 years ago, and as I was sharing the great results that we've been finding by looking at students' high school GPA, and at that time we were looking in addition to their scores and placing them at the highest possible level. I shared with the group that was there, you know, there's thousands and thousands of reasons that you need to implement multiple measures, and everyone has a name. Every one of those reasons has a name. And so today, if you look at your table, what you're gonna find is a little black folder, and it has the name of a student, and inside you will find scenarios about that student. And we are going to try to talk about details in coordination with the timeline, because we have a very short timeline to implement good things to happen to these students. So I'm going to turn it over to our outcomes for today, and then you're going to get an assignment to work at your tables.
Can we just pop back to that outcome slide? Because I don't remember them. Yeah. So we crafted these outcomes. One of the things that I want to draw your attention to is number 3, which is that this event was put together by multiple stakeholders. I see people I know, hi! And the belief that it takes all of us, but it's hard. It's, you know, the collaboration is difficult. So we had the Statewide Academic Senate working together. We had 3CSN working together, California Acceleration Project working together, the data team. And so with that collaboration, first of all, I mean, I think that we all want to say that we feel that we are all needed. We don't have one person to waste. We don't have one bit of state dollars to waste. We don't have one educator in this room to waste. I wanted to say thank you to Michelle for showing her heart. She was about to cry, and so was I, and I still might. It happens all the time. But, you know, she said good leadership matters, good teaching matters too. You know, so we, as we were putting together this agenda, we were trying to come up with a way that we could do the knowledge building and sharing that we know is needed, and that sense of a practical urgency, but also let people talk and make sense of things. So that's this next part of what we're gonna do. So it's just one day, so these outcomes are sort of like begin to do these things. So begin to collaborate on a day where we can start working on these things. Consider possibilities for using this, something that we have to do as an opportunity to serve the social justice mission of our college, and start designing backwards from where we need to be, thinking about those nitty-gritty details. Before Nicole gives you the instructions for how you're going to get to work with your students for this next half an hour of active sense-making with your colleagues, we just wanted to let you know that it's a big room, you're going to be talking, we're going to have to interrupt you because we're going to have to keep everything chop on time. Is it okay, can you consent that when it's time to interrupt, we'll raise our hands. If you see us, you raise your hand, and then if people see these hands going up, they'll know it's time to come back together. That way nobody has to like scream into the mic like it's a barnyard. Does that work? Yes. It works pretty well. It only works if you raise your hand and stop talking. If you continue to talk with your hand up, we just all have our hands in the air. Okay, so that's just one ground rule for the working together and coming back together. Really quickly, 30 seconds or less, does anybody want to suggest any other kind of working ground rules for our day-to-day? Just things that you hope for in this room as we endeavor to tackle these topics. Kyle? Okay. So Kyle said, remember to really want to listen. So you tell yourself, I want to listen right now. Want to listen, be respectful. Did I miss anything? Okay, we have so much to learn from each other. Thank you. Anything else? Even just doing a scan is taking like 30 seconds per scan.
We will be walking around to help. If you have questions, we'll be walking around as you do your work.
As we launch and as we go, if you find, you know what, I wish I would have mentioned a ground rule, because now I'm feeling a need for one, just flag one of us, and we will just pop it in here as we go through. Okay, so we are going to get into our activity keeping students at the center now.
There we are. We're keeping students at the center, and we have some very diverse students to keep at the center.
So in your folder, you're going to find a number of things on the right-hand side. And so I'm going to lift a couple of them up. The two pieces that you'll need to get started on this activity are a blue sheet and a sheet with student profiles. On the front of your folder, you're going to see a name. That name correlates with the name on either the front or the back of this sheet of student profiles. And that's the student that is going to start your thinking and unpacking of what we do today. You're going to work through that student and then apply to your institution as you work. So the blue sheet is divided into two. On the left-hand side, you're going to see some questions to help you think about, given the information that you have on your student, what is the current experience for this student? So we're starting with students to keep students at the center, and then we're going to move to be able to apply that in your thinking and questioning for your own institutions. So, for example, that first question is going to ask you, given GPA and previous course completion, given in this profile, where would the student currently be placed in English and math at your campus? And as you work through that question, if you look to the right, you've got open space to note questions you might have, to note ideas that might come up to you, to make this a truly working space for you to apply that inquiry in relation to your own campuses and the ideas that you're working with your teams. So we have two different note-taker activities in here. The blue sheet is where we're going to start. That starts with current student experience, and then on the back has future student experience, and we're going to touch on that a bit later. There's an additional sheet that we'll talk about later that then moves you to thinking about from an institutional lens and then ultimately to a team or planning lens. So that's sort of the big picture of where we're going to be going throughout the day. If we come back to where we are right now, that front sheet asks you to think about current experiences for the student. For about the next 7 minutes, what would be fantastic is if you could read over the profile of the student that's on the front of your folder, do some independent reading, thinking, and note-taking on those questions on the front of the blue sheet. And then in about 7 minutes, we're going to ask you to work in pairs and then ultimately to expand to your tables.